this slideshow together and showed it with some people that were present early, like, I think it was like mid-February or late. No, it was actually the last weekend the hospital was open in February 2019. We did a weekend of action, so we held a forum, and this was one of the slideshows we used then. And then we also have a slideshow that we utilize for our day after Thanksgiving dinner event, which highlights some of the ways that we have organized around this issue the past year, and also highlights and shows our connection to the Poor People's Campaign. So we're going to utilize these slideshows to kind of like show you some of the information and some of the work we have done, while also keeping it interactive and having group discussions on this issue. So please feel free to like, hey, I've got a question on what you just said. Please just, this is casual. This is, feel free to please just chime in with any questions you have at any time. So I guess with that, we'll get started. One thing I think before we go into the timeline is, yes, there were pieces that came out in LNP today. And so I guess part of what I kind of took away from some of that is I feel like, not personally against any said reporter that did the articles, but just in general how I see like media kind of cover things. And whether it's intentional or not, I do feel like there's a certain narrative that's kind of being spread, right? Like, hey, they don't pay enough in taxes, but if we sell this and develop it and change the zoning, then we'll get some money for the city, and we desperately need that, X, Y, Z, yada, yada, right? My issue with that is, if we can make a deal to save the Marriott Hotel, I don't think we need to push to gentrify the St. Joseph Hospital, just so that we can somehow gain something from that. I think there's ways to be able to gain things for our community that's needed, whether it's some tax revenue and some other resources, and I don't think it should be spread as that kind of narrative. And honestly, I'm a little upset that it's mentioned in that article that the gentleman on the Planning Commission, met with UPMC to talk about the issue, right? But didn't talk about the folks who have been researching this issue, who have been organizing on this issue for over the past year, right? We do have a meeting with the chair of the Planning Commission coming up, and I would have liked to be able to reach out to the other people, but I didn't see any emails or anything listed, so I had no way how to get in touch with them. But we very much would have loved to meet with each and every one of them, right? So that we could share information with them and show what we know and what we're organizing around. And so I think that that was in one aspect that sort of, upset me, out of all that. And so I wanted to share that. The other thing is there was an article that came out talking about the counting of the homeless, right? They do this one-day count, right? In reality, I can tell you right now from folks that I've talked to, these people do not know where all the encampments are. The other thing that they didn't talk about was that over a year span, because the seasons, I think, go from like a springtime to the following year springtime when they do this. What they didn't mention is that the 2018 to 2019 season, about 6,000 people were moved through the system that were experiencing homelessness at one point or another. That was data that we actually did collect, and that was actually not mentioned. And so I think that it's not an accurate way to calculate homelessness if you're going to do a one-day count in hopes that you count everybody. And it also doesn't show the real number of folks that are just crashing at other people's houses, but who are also homeless themselves. So the count is actually inaccurate. And so I think that was just some things I wanted to point out, right, as we go into this discussion, with some things that we've kind of found out in regards to like UPMC and thoughts and everything around possibly organizing for what we need at St. Joseph Hospital. So I wanted to share that with y'all today. I do encourage you to check out the articles though, so that you can kind of see for yourself, but I wanted to make sure that the folks were aware of that information.